Hey yogi friends, Cathy here. So glad you've come to practice with me today. Today's practice is going to be fairly low to the floor. We are going to work our way up just a little bit. We're going to keep at least 3 limbs on the floor for this whole practice. And we're going to open up in the side body a lot, open up in the back body a lot. So let's come on and come into your easy seat here. Get comfortable. If you need to roll a towel or blanket behind the tailbone to give a little support so you can sit tall, go ahead and do that. I think it would be also wise to have a couple blocks handy for this practice if you need to take a pause and grab those, or something that would provide you with a sturdy surface, like a thick book. Those would be handy for today especially. So once you are in your easy seat, go ahead and close the eyes. And go right ahead and bring attention right to the breath. Just notice the coolness of that inhale as it flows through the nostrils, and the warmth of that exhale as it exits the nostrils. Notice any little sensations within the body. Notice the temperature of the feet, the hands, the fingers. Notice the weight of the hands resting on your lap. You might even feel your heart beating. Bring some attention to your spine and make sure that it's erect from the top of the head, the crown of the head, all the way down through the back to the tailbone. Keep a tall spine here. Let's take a deep breath in, really filling up the lower belly, all the way up through the lungs to the collarbone, and we'll just naturally let that relaxed exhale leave the body. Take another big, full belly inhale. Lower belly fills up first, expanding like a balloon, lifting up, filling up through the lungs all the way to the tip top, and then we'll let that exhale flow out naturally. One more big inhale here, and on the exhale we'll chant Om together. And just in case you were not aware, the sound of Om is our reminder of the universal life force that is present within each and every one of us. And that chant is just our reminder that we all share that in common with each other and every other living being. Let the breath settle back into a natural pace if it hasn't already. And then when you feel ready, go ahead and open the eyes. And we're going to come right to a tabletop today. Go ahead and get on the hands and knees. We want the wrists to be right beneath the elbows, elbows right beneath the shoulders. If the wrists are uncomfortable in this position, go ahead and make fists, and you can put the weight on the fists rather than on the base of the palms. Take a look at the knees and make sure they're right beneath the hips and the feet are right behind the knees. Lengthen out through the crown of the head, out through the sits bones. Draw the navel up, and that'll help support our low back. We want a flat back here. Once we've got our foundation good and sturdy, on an inhale, go ahead and drop your belly down. Raise the crown of the head and the tail toward the ceiling. And then exhaling, we'll round navel to spine, spine towards ceiling, really pressing into the base of the palms, the knees and tops of the feet. Draw the navel up. And then on an inhale, drop the belly. Exhaling, curving the spine toward the ceiling. Inhaling, dropping the belly. Exhaling, spine toward the ceiling once again. Inhale, drop the belly. Exhale, spine to ceiling. Let's do one more round. Drop the belly on the inhale. And curve the spine toward the ceiling. And let's go ahead and widen the knees here. Bring the big toes to touch each other and come back into a child's pose, bringing the hips all the way back to the heels. If they don't come quite all the way, you can always place a block there beneath the sits bones and the perineum to support the low body. And you could also have a blanket or block underneath the forehead if needed. And just let the weight of the body relax down here. No efforts. Gravity is doing the work here, just pulling the weight of the body into your mat. And remember to breathe here. Take a moment to notice each individual fingertip and the thumb, the base of the palm resting on your mat. Notice the weight of the elbows, the weight of the knees, tops of the feet and shins, and the weight of the forehead pressing against the mat here. And feel the opening and the abdomen pressing against the legs when you take that big inhale. And then notice how everything contracts in the torso when you exhale. And on an inhale, let's come back up to our tabletop position once more. And this time we're going to grab a block and put it over here to the side of our mat. And then we're just going to walk the hands and the knees around so that now the knees are on the mat, the hands are off the mat, and the hands are resting right on top of our block. So the weight is here in the base of the palms and the knees. So we're going to start by extending one leg out to the side so that the foot is parallel to that short edge of our mat. And just extending here, pressing a little bit out into the outer edge of that foot. You can keep your gaze toward the block or toward the floor. And just feel that opening in the inner thigh and the groin. If it feels good, you can rock the weight back just a bit. That's going to change the sensation in the inner thigh. And you can also rock forward just a bit. And then rock back and forward. Only if that feels good. It just intensifies the stretch of the inner leg a little bit. And then we're going to take our fingertips to the block. And we'll engage the abdomen and the pelvic floor. Lean back just slightly over that bent knee. And then we're going to lift up onto the knee. So we're going to come into a gate variation here. Take the arm that's on the same side as the extended leg and just rest that hand on this extended leg and raise the opposite arm up over the shoulder. Draw the navel in here. Make sure the tailbone's pointing toward the floor. We're going to lift tall and then we're going to just reach toward the side. Just a little reach. We're not trying to curve super far over there. We're really just trying to open up this side of the body. So think of lifting up and then over. And this hand might slide down just a bit. We just don't want to put a lot of weight in this hand. We're using the muscles of the midsection to hold us here. And then we'll lower that arm down. Take this arm up and take a tiny little tilt to the opposite side just to counter that last movement. And then we'll bring that arm down. Let's bring the hands back to our block. Bring that extended knee in, and then we're going to scoot our block toward the other side of the mat. So we'll have room to extend the opposite leg out behind us. Need to move my props around behind me here a little bit. So again, knees are on the mat, hands are on the block, and we extend the opposite leg out this time. Take a look at the knee that your weight is resting on. We want it to be right below the hip. Keep that extended foot parallel to that back edge of your mat, pressing out into the outer edge of that foot. And again, if it feels good to rock, just slightly back toward the hips and then forward onto the hands. You can do that to add a little extra intensity in this inner thigh and groin area. And it's perfectly fine to just stay in position and not move back and forth. Just an option. Remembering to breathe throughout your practice, throughout your movements. And this next time, let's come to that neutral position. We're going to come up onto the fingertips, lean back the weight over that knee just a little bit, back toward the foot, and then we can rise up. Place this hand on top of the extended leg. Lift the opposite arm up over the shoulder, navel in, tailbone pointed toward the floor. And we'll lift up and then we'll reach over. And again, just remember to breathe here. We want to be able to lift this hand that's resting on the extended leg. We want to create some space between the ear and the shoulder of the arm that's lifted. And we want to feel a lot of opening in the side of the body where we're extended here. Think of lengthening out through the crown of the head and through the fingertips at the same time. Let's lower that top arm that's extended up above, lift the opposite arm, and we'll just take a very slight counter bend to the other side, keeping the abdominals drawn in to support our steadiness here. And then we'll lower that arm back down, bring the hands back to the block, bring that knee in. Let's put this block back at the front of our mat. We're going to come back to our normal tabletop position here. And I'm going to come into a twist on all fours. So let's start with the left leg. Extending the left leg back. We're going to come onto the toes and the ball of the left foot. And then from here, make sure we've got a good foundation. We're just going to lift the right arm up over the right shoulder. So the torso is twisting toward the right side of the room. Right arm is extended up over the shoulder, and the left leg is extended out behind. Holding here in our twist. Remembering to breathe. And then we'll bring that right arm down and bring the left knee in. And then let's do the same thing on the other side, extending the right leg out so we can rest the foot on the right toes and the ball of the right foot. Pressing into that right palm, we lift up through the left arm and twist the torso toward the left-hand side of the room. And the twist here is just coming from the waist. It's only the upper body twisting. We want to lengthen out through the crown of the head also so that the head is an extension of the spine. Let's lower that hand down, bring that knee in. We're going to take another child's pose here, another brief rest. So you can bring the knees as wide as the mat if you like. You can leave them closer together. That's your choice. Bring the hips back toward the heels, resting the forehead down, the arms, resting the whole body here, letting go of any efforts. Resting from the fingertips all the way down through the body to the toes. Notice your breath. Keep it going here. Notice any other sensations within the body. On an inhale, we'll come back up to our tabletop once more. And this time we're going to curl the toes under, come up to a down dog. So we're lifting the hips up. When you get there, you can pedal the feet by pressing the heel of one leg toward the mat and straightening that leg while you bend the opposite. And you can continue to pedal at whatever pace feels most comfortable to you, just allowing you to open up the back of the legs. Pressing into the base of the palms and gripping into the fingertips. So we've got the spider hands here. And keeping a flat back. If you want to bring the feet to stillness when you're ready, go ahead and do that. Lifting the tailbone toward that crease between the wall and the ceiling behind you, lengthening the crown of the head toward the front edge of your mat, working to bring the head so that the biceps are on either side of the ears, lowering that upper back down just a bit, and letting the shoulder blades sort of sink down the surface of the back. Remembering to breathe here. And let's come back down to our tabletop. And from here, we're going to want to take a sort of a half child. We're going to just bring the weight back, but we're not going to lower the head. We're just going to extend the arms out in front. And keep the chest open and just feel the difference here. You can even press up onto the fingertips. Notice how that changes the sensation a little bit. And then we'll come back to tabletop, come back up to our down dog once more. We're going to take the right foot and just lift it just a few inches off your mat for a little momentum to bring that right knee toward the chest and then bring the right foot all the way up between the hands. Now it might take 2 steps. It might require you to pull your ankle forward with the right hand. Whatever way gets you there is what works. Go ahead and lower the back knee and the top of the back foot. And we're in a low lunge here. You might want to bring your blocks in under the hands just to allow you to really lengthen up tall through the spine. And really feel into the front of that left hip flexor and the back of the right hip and then this hamstring. Feel your strength. Pull this right hip back just a tiny bit and you'll feel a little more opening in that left hip all at the same time. You may turn to look to one side if that feels good for the neck. If you turn to one side, notice how it feels to turn to the other. Just be gentle here. And we're not taking a big, huge bend, just a little look over the shoulder. Let's take the blocks off to either side and plant the hands down on either side of that front foot. Come up onto the toes of the back leg. And we're going to just pivot on that foot so that it's about 45-degree angle. The front knee is still bent. We're going to press into this front heel really strongly and rise up so the knee in front stays bent. And then once you get there, if the feet need to be readjusted, go ahead and do that so you have a nice, strong foundation. And then you can lift the hands up over the shoulders if it feels steady. If not, just leave the hands down here at the hips. That's a-okay. But if it feels steady, you can lift. You can also go ahead and lift one arm and keep one hand on the hip if you aren't quite ready to do both arms yet. And if you do have arms lifted and you want to glance toward that crease between the wall and the ceiling, you can lift the gaze in that direction. And then we're going to bring the hands back down. You might want to grab those blocks again. Come up onto the toes and back. Take a little bend in that knee, and then you can bring that foot forward to meet the front foot in forward folds. I think I said at one point early in this practice we would have 3 limbs on the floor at all times. I think I should have said 2. You may have noticed that by now. Go ahead and rock just a tiny bit. Forward and back, bringing the weight into the heels and bringing the weight into the balls of the feet, and then back into the heels and back into the balls of the feet. And give yourself as much bend as you need here in the knees so that you can feel this opening in the backs of the legs, but also that it's not too intense. We want to be gentle with our bodies. From here, let's step the feet back to our down dog. Step one foot, then the other, coming into your down dog. Pedaling the feet if you like. Once you've gone through all the items that you need to review here about your position, go ahead and come to a still down dog. And this time we'll raise the left foot just a few inches off the mat for a little momentum. Bring that left knee toward the chest, rock the weight into the hands, and bring that left foot forward. Between the hands, go ahead and lower the back knee, top of the back foot. Again, grab the blocks here if you like. You can always be just down on fingertips too if that works for you. But sometimes the blocks can be a really welcome addition. Lengthening up through your crown. Taking a moment to notice whether this front knee is right over the front ankle. Pulling that left hip back just a tiny bit. You'll feel a little more opening in the front of the right hip. Tall in the spine. Give a little smile if things are getting intense. And remember to breathe. Put your blocks over to the side. And when you feel like your foundation is good in that front foot, really press into that front foot, coming up onto the knee, or hands up onto the knee if you like. Coming into this low lunge, then we'll raise the arms up overhead. Rearrange the footing at any point if that helps you to feel more stable. Sometimes moving that front foot, walking it heel toe just a tiny bit over to the left to widen your stance can provide a little more stability. Just really listen to your own body and what's working best for you. Holding here in position, you might still have the hands on the knee or on the hips. You might raise one arm or both arms. Just decide what works best for you. If both arms are raised, you might glance up just slightly. And then we'll bring those hands back down to frame the front foot. Come up onto the back toes. And take a little bend in that back knee to bring that foot forward into your forward fold. Go ahead and sway from side to side here. You might shake the head from side to side. You might shake the head as if you were nodding yes. Imagine gravity pulling the head just a tiny bit closer to the floor. And then we're going to rise up to mountain from there, lifting up one vertebra at a time, coming all the way up tall. Hands are over the shoulders, extending through the fingertips. Navel is drawn in, tailbone is pointing toward the floor. Take a little back bend here by lifting up through the crown first and then opening up through the front body, the chest, and leaning back just in the top of the back. And then we'll come back up tall, bring the hands around to prayer position and close the eyes for a moment. And just notice how this feels to stand here in your tall, strong mountain. Notice the energy that you have stirred up within the body. Notice your breathing pattern. And notice if you can feel your heart beating and pulsating, helping to deliver blood and oxygen and nutrients throughout your body. Let's drop the hands down as we open the eyes. Raise them back up overhead. We're going to fold back forward into a forward fold once again. Take a halfway lift at whatever level you like. You can bring the hands all the way up to the hip creases. Keep them on the thighs, on the shins, tops of the feet, fingertips on the floor. The goal here is just to have a flat back. Really reach out from the crown of the head, and then we'll fold back down. Let's take the feet back into our downward dog once again, stepping the feet all the way back. Pedal the feet if you like. Whenever you get here, always feel free to pedal the feet. Come into stillness when you feel ready. And then from there, we're actually gonna bring the weight forward, come up onto the toes, bring the weight forward onto the hands, and we're coming into a plank. Once you get there, you may need to rearrange the feet. Go ahead and bring the knees down if you want into a half plank, and then keep the elbows super close to the body. We're going to lower the body all the way down to the belly. And just relax. So you're bringing the hands right beneath the forehead and resting the forehead on the hands for a moment. Take a moment to bend the knees so that the soles of the feet are facing the ceiling. And then just rock the feet to one side and then to the other side. So we're rocking side to side on the thighs. Get a little bit of a massage in the quadriceps there. And a little bit also in the front of the hips. You might notice that it really feels different in one leg versus the other. And then let's bring the feet to stillness and lower the legs back down all the way onto our mat. We're going to bring the hands right beneath the shoulders. And rather than pressing into the hands, go ahead and turn the palms to face the ceiling. And we're not going to use the hands here at all, or the arms. We're going to just use the muscles of the upper back to lift the head off the mat and then glance just slightly forward. You might even lift the hands and the arms up. And then we'll lower back down. Let's bring the forehead to the hands one more time. This time we'll bring the hands right beneath the shoulders, leave the palms facing the mat, and we are going to press into the palms a little bit this time, the base of the palms. And we're going to lift up, again, using the back muscles. Keep the elbows super close to the ribs and lift up so the belly button is maybe 1 inch or 2 off the floor. And then we'll lower back down once more. And again, bring the head to rest on the hands. You can let the ankles, the heels fall open to the sides. Now let's roll over onto our backs. And we'll bring the knees toward the chest, hugging the knees in a bit. And then keeping the tailbone pointed toward the bottom edge of your mat, go ahead and rock the knees a bit. Rock on the low back and the upper hips there, giving a little massage in that area. Should feel pretty nice. And keep that going for a few repetitions. Just feeling as the weight transfers from one side to the other, the sensations in the low back and the upper hips. Let's extend the left leg out in front of us so the heel of the left leg rests on the mat, keeping that right knee close to the chest. We're going to engage again the abdominals and the chest muscles to lift the head off the mat. You can also bring the fingertips behind the head if this is a little much on the neck. Keep the elbows nice and wide. Lifting nose towards ceiling and then tipping the nose toward the knee. And you'll probably might feel a little shake in the abdominals there, building strength in that core section of the body. Let's gently lower the head down. We'll extend that right leg out and bring the left knee in. Give it a little hug in, a little squeeze toward the chest. And then again, we'll use the core muscles and the muscles of the chest to lift the head up off the mat and then tilt the nose toward the knee, keeping the elbows wide. If you have brought the fingertips behind the head, remembering to breathe here as you might be shaking, and then lower the head down and extend that left leg out. Let's take a big full body stretch here, stretching out that core section in our middle, that we just engaged. I got a big yawn there. Bring the soles of the feet to rest on your mat. The knees are pointing toward the ceiling. We're just going to rock the knees to one side, come back through center, and rock them over to the other side. And you can take this at whatever pace you want. If you want to leave the knees down on one side for a count of 3 to 5 seconds and then come back through the center, you can, or you can just do this windshield wiper movement from side to side at a somewhat slow pace because we want to be gentle with the low back here since we're doing some twisting. But again, notice how this feels on the hips, the low back, the pelvis. Feeling that bit of rotation in the hip socket and that bit of pressure in the hips and the glutes. Let's do one more. Once you've evened things out, go ahead and bring the knees back up toward the ceiling. And now we're going to open the knees wide and bring the soles of the feet to touch each other. So coming into your Supta Baddha Konasana here, you can rest the arms so that the palms are facing up toward the ceiling. You could bring them to rest on the low belly, maybe even making a diamond shape over that low abdomen with your forefingers and thumbs. Go ahead and close the eyes here and relax into this position. If this is a little much on the hips or knees, go ahead and grab your blocks and you can put them beneath the knees on whatever setting just to give a little bit more support there. You can still get the benefits of this opening if you have the blocks there in whatever position of support. And just remembering to breathe here. I find that when I close the eyes, I can really focus attention on the bodily sensations and on my breath. You might also take a moment to notice whether your shoulders are relaxed into your mat, whether your chin is pointing toward the ceiling. Any other sensations you feel anywhere in the body, from the tips of the toes all the way up into the crown of your head. Now, if you would like to stay here for a few more minutes, go ahead and do so. If you are ready to come on into your Shavasana, go ahead and do that. That's where we're headed next. If you would like to bring your blocks or a blanket or something, a bolster even below the knees, you can. I'm going to bring my blocks in there Actually, I'm just going to put them right above the knees on my lower thighs. Just takes a little pressure out of the low back. And if you like to get cozy for Shavasana and you have a blanket, I'm going to do that. Cover up with your blanket. Get warm and cozy. And I'm going to be here for a few minutes. So just let yourself fully relax. Allow the shoulders to sink into your mat. I will let you know when to come back to full awareness. So no worries about keeping track of the time. We're going to be here for about 5 minutes. And just release and let go. You can start a body scan if you want, moving from your feet up through the feet and legs, the torso, the arms. Spending time for the shoulders, neck, head, and face. I'm going to let you take care of that on your own if you'd like to do it. Otherwise, just be here and breathe. Just be and breathe. Go ahead and bring some movement into your fingertips and toes. Make some circles with the wrists and with the ankles and rock the hips a little bit from side to side, coming out of your Shavasana here. Take a big full body stretch. And then we're going to roll over onto one side of the body and just use the arm as a pillow. If you've got any props in your way, go ahead and just scoot those out of the way with the feet. Take a full breath cycle here on your side, keeping the eyes closed just as long as you can. And then we're going to press ourselves back up to seated. We're going to come into that comfortable seated position we started in. If you need to grab your support to be comfortable there, go ahead and grab it and then settle in with the eyes closed again in your Sukhasana, your easy seat here. And just allow the hands to rest comfortably on the legs. Keep the spine tall and erect. Notice your breathing pattern. Notice if you've had any shift in your state of mind or state of emotions since we first came to practice. Notice too how it feels to sit in this position now versus when we first came to sit here on the mat. Does anything feel clearer, more open? Has anything been revealed? Just notice how you feel. It's a good reflection for after every yoga practice. How do I feel in my body right now? Let's draw the hands together at prayer position. Take a big full belly inhale. We'll chant Om on the exhale. Bring the thumbs to rest on the forehead. May we have peace in our thoughts. Thumbs to rest at the lips. May we have peace in our words. And finally, thumbs back at the heart space. May we have peace in our hearts. The light in me recognizes and honors the light in you. And I bow as I say, Namaste. Thank you so much for being here to practice with me today. I really hope this practice has brought some peace and tranquility into your day, and that you'll take that with you wherever you go today and share it in those spaces that you enter with the people that you come in contact with. I look forward to practicing with you again soon. If you'd like to know whenever we have a new video available for you to practice, go ahead and subscribe and click the bell so that you'll receive a notification as soon as that new practice posts. Thanks again for being here. Namaste.